And this was something that happened to my daughter. We're actually using AI to do threat detection. Security is all about layering, and the default is, like Sean said, is to do nothing about it.
How do you train a kid to use the internet well, responsibly?
Just do something. Doing nothing is no longer an option.
All right, well, welcome to the SafetyNet podcast by ArkCybr. My name is Josh Lewis, and I am the host and producer. And with me, we have Sean Artizone, who is the CEO and founder of ArkCybr, and he is the genius, hacker, brains, and heart of the podcast. And yeah, we have a really exciting episode coming up.
A couple months into creating ArkCybr, I had already done a few of the homeschool conferences. And while I was there, people kept asking me, have you heard of Gryphon? Have you heard of Gryphon? And at that point, I was like, no, I've not heard of them. So I was like, okay, more than one person has asked me about this piece of technology. I should probably, as a cyber guy, have an answer. So I started looking into it. And when I started looking into it, I was like, wait, this is a parental control platform. Wait, this has Nmap. This has cyber tools built into it. Wait, this has this. And I was like, how come nobody knows about this? Where has this thing been hiding? And so I started digging into it, and I'm like, I gotta get one of these. And so I bought one, had it sent. I got my dad one, had it sent to him, and said, hey, I want you to play with this. And my dad's 71 years old, and he got this thing sent to his house. He plugged it in, he turned it on, he followed the instructions, he did the thing, and his network was up and running. And I was like, if my 71-year-old dad can do it, I could tell a lot of people about this, and people can use this. And so, yeah, I was introduced to it by the homeschool conferences in the homeschool world, and then I'm like, I believed in this technology so much. A few months back, I got an email just as part of like staying connected with the Gryphon organization through their newsletters and the things that they publish, and they published a newsletter about a WeFunder round, investment round that was out, and I was like, they're crowdfunding this. So I did the same thing with the Chosen, which is how I got the idea for the pay it forward ArkCybr concept, where we don't charge anything, we just let people pay it forward to cover our costs. And so when I saw that Gryphon was crowdfunded and doing an investment round with actual real stock, I was like, I'm in. So I went and bought stock in this thing, and then I even registered to be an affiliate for them. And I actually went and registered for a bunch of affiliates. Full disclosure, just because I don't recommend one product for everyone. Everybody's use case is different, but I was like, I've got to get on board with what Gryphon's doing. And so I don't want to take all of the thunder and all of this the story, because there's some exciting things that we're going to get to introduce to you on the show, because we have the co-founder and CEO himself agreed to come on the show and talk about his story and talk about his vision and talk about the Gryphon products.
We are going to introduce John Wu. So, John, thank you so much for being willing to do this. I know Sean and I have been very excited to get to talk with you. And again, he literally has been raving about Gryphon and your story for a while. So we're very honored that you would be on here.
Hey, Josh, and hey, Sean. Good to be on your podcast. Really excited. Sean, thank you so much for not just being a Gryphon customer, but also now an investor, and also helping to really spread the word about our mission and Gryphon. Really appreciate it.
We'd love to hear about you. We'd love to hear about Gryphon. And then we'd also like to get some advice from you for our listeners towards the end. So maybe to start out, let's hear about you and your story. What was your family like growing up? All those sorts of things.
Well, I guess we can start from the beginning. I was born in China. My family and I immigrated to the U.S. back in the 80s, when this was when China and U.S. started diplomatic relationships, and so we were actually one of the first immigrants to actually come to the U.S. And as an immigrant family, it was I think for my parents, it was quite a bit of struggle. They had to give up everything they knew back in China to come here, start over, basically. And as a parent myself, I can't imagine doing that. just the difficulty of doing that. But they did that because they wanted their kid to have a really good education and have the opportunities of being able to do something. So I'm really proud of my parents for that. I don't think I realized that until I became a parent. But so I grew up in New Jersey, in the East Coast, and then my parents moved to New York, and I moved away to college. I went to college at University of Illinois, graduated with a master's degree of electrical engineering and communications. So so that's my family growing up.
Got it. That's crazy. So about how old were you when you immigrated over?
I was 9 years old.
Okay, 9. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was definitely an adjustment for you as well. Like not just like that's still about the time where it's like even though you're still pretty young, like that would be a big adjustment.
Yeah, it was learning a new language and just completely different culture. Um, Getting used to the food here was a
Oh
challenge.
man, yes. For sure.
But it was a quick adjustment, I think, for a kid. So
Yeah.
we
That's
didn't really have a whole lot of. I just remember we don't have a whole lot of meat when I was in China. We had chicken like once a year, and
okay.
coming to the States, for the first month, my mom bought chicken like every day of the month, right? Because
That's amazing.
I just got sick of chicken. I think I didn't have chicken for the rest of growing up because I was sick of eating chicken for a month.
Right. We're just going overboard here.
Yeah.
What's your family makeup now?
So I'm married to my wife of 23 years now. I have two daughters. One is in college right now.
Wow.
We're actually taking her back to college tomorrow.
Okay.
And I have another daughter that's in high school, so she's going to be a senior. We also have our in-laws living with us as well
Okay.
from my wife's side. So they're, we're taking care of them, and so we've got a full house right now. But
Right.
one will be leaving. So,
Okay. So before we actually get into, I'm going to start co-founding a company. Before we even get to your first tech job in the tech world, why did you start down a road of you loving technology or just being interested in it?
Oh, okay. So I don't know if you know back in the day, the Commodore 64.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was. So my mom actually bought me the Commodore 64. That's what got me into programming. And my interest in programming was really I wanted to play video games, right? So, and the Commodore 64 was really good at graphics and sound and stuff. And there was like a book of video game programs that you can actually write. So that's really when I first started to kind of gain an interest in programming and computers and all that stuff. And then got into hooking up a modem. I think back then it was like a 64 bulb modem, like 64 bits, right? So
Okay.
Yeah. Screaming fast.
with a DB, like a DBS or a bulletin board system, and
Wow.
seeing all the stuff coming down, you can download stuff. Mostly still interested in gaming, right? So downloading games and things to play on the computer.
That's fun. Did you have a favorite game?
Um, that's I think it was probably Pac-Man.
Okay, love it.
Yeah. Wait, I got a question. How
Yeah,
many
go
times
for
did you crash the Commodore and then have to rebuild it from scratch or from the disks?
Oh, back then we didn't actually have when we first got the Commodore, we didn't actually have any storage, right? So you had to actually store stuff on a tape,
Yeah.
right? When you play to the so I actually so when I wrote the program, I had to keep the Commodore on because if I turned it off, everything kind of there's no there's no hard storage on the
Yep.
Commodore. Right? It's all RAM, and then it was months later before my parents got me a tape recorder so I can actually store the program and play later. But
Nice.
You
You
know,
should have
for the
to
longest
rewrite it every time to.
exactly, I have to write the
Yeah.
game, play for a couple days,
Yep. Rewrite your code, stand it
and
back up.
rewrite the
Yep.
code again. Yeah.
Yep.
Let's move a little bit into the beginning of Gryphon, okay? Just in case people haven't heard of Gryphon or anything like that. When was that co-founded? When did you co-found that?
We started the company back in around August of 2016.
Okay,
But
awesome.
it was a few years before that we kind of came up with the idea of Gryphon, and this was something that happened to my daughter, one of my younger daughters, that she was on the internet on her iPad, and I think Sean, you probably heard the story, but she was looking up princesses. This was when Frozen had just came out, and just a bunch of inappropriate stuff came up, right? And as a parent, want to do something about that to kind of take control over just the content that comes in. But there was not really any good solutions out there at the time. There's parental control that you can set for the devices, but they don't work really well. And every device has different settings, and it's very clunky to use. So that's where we kind of came up with the idea of Gryphon. Let's put that control on the network side, because every single device uh, connects through your Wi-Fi router, right? So if you can control the traffic, you can control every single device that's connected in the home. So that's really the idea behind it.
Wow. That's amazing.
That's one of the key elements of the Gryphon systems that got me, because I knew, as a hacker, right? I started off in the voice world, and convergence happened in the 90s, so I had to learn data, and then the voice and data worlds all had that security overlay. And I knew that if you could control at the network edge as close to the as close to the internet access as possible, you controlled the entire network. And so when I saw Gryphon was that control center, like everything had to go through it, I was like, they know what they're doing. They actually get it, and it's not at the edge on the application. There's a use case for that, but when you control the network, you control a lot. So yeah, that's what really one of the key points of the Gryphon system. So anyway,
So it sounds like it was sort of birthed out of that this personal experience where you're trying to protect your daughters, but like I feel like I don't know, it feels like a leap to go from I just want to protect my daughters to I'm going to start a company. So like what can you walk us through, like how did you arrive at I don't want to just help my family, I want to help more people? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think it is a leap of faith, and I think for me it was really just looking at just the market. There's a need out there, and I feel like I was in the right place at the right time, and just had the right background and the resources to be able to do that. We actually started off small. We did a crowdfunding campaign to try to see if there's an interest out there. We talked to our friends, obviously, about hey, is this something that could be useful to you? And found a really good response from it. And then we did a small Kickstarter campaign. More people came on board, and then we did an equity crowdfunding round early on, and even more people came on board. So we felt like there was just this overwhelming need in the market for something like this. In fact, when we go to churches and events, there's still a lot of people that haven't heard about a solution. I think everybody is aware. A lot of parents are aware of the problem. Everybody, I don't know of any parent that has not had some type of angst about their kids being on the internet or about to get on the internet, or that have had some arguments or just conflict about getting their kids off of the internet once they're on it, right? So a lot of parents are aware of the problem. I think a lot of parents aren't aware that there are solutions that are out there for them, and that's what we're trying to bring. And I think just doing these equity crowdfunding campaigns and just kind of gaining that grassroots type of momentum, I think really helped to validate the idea and give us the validation that we needed to kind of take that leap and start the company.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's a great point too, John. That the tagline of the podcast is just do something, because doing nothing is no longer an option. And 10 years ago, ArkCybr people would just be like, no, I know how to do the internet. I don't need and as my friend's daughter called it, to babysit the internet. But people are keenly aware that it's not, we just call it harmful content because it covers a gamut of, so many things that can happen to a person on the internet. And so having people wake up to the fact they need to do something. They need to do something to stop the mess. And this is, I think, personally, one of the easiest things that a person can do. So I had a mom who met me at a homeschool conference, and I said, go to our website, sign up, and it's a free consultation. And she heard consultation and she thought, oh, this is going to cost a lot of money. And she reached back out 4 days ago. I got on my calendar and told me that her 14-year-old had been viewing harmful content for a year and hiding that whole thing. And it all came to light. It all came out. And so I'm working with that client to work through, securing the technology, but sent her over to the Gryphon website and she got one.
In today's age, doing nothing is, if you're not doing anything, there's a pull, right? There's a pull from the internet. So if you don't do anything, that pull gets stronger and stronger. And, if you're not parenting your kid, the internet is going to parent your kid. So
yeah, for sure.
This is just out of pure curiosity. Where did the name Gryphon come from?
So I went to a Catholic high school when I was growing up, and our mascot was the Gryphon.
Amazing.
And coincidentally, so my daughter goes to a classical Christian school, and their mascot is Gryphon.
No way.
This is the seed of the idea. Although we spell Gryphon differently, it's Gyphon instead of Griffin, and but it's the same concept or the same creature. And Gryphon is it's half eagle and half lion. And you'll see that that type of creature iconography on medieval knight shields and flags and things like that. And the symbology behind it is really, it's a creature that guards precious treasures, or the kingdom's treasure. And for us, your child is your kingdom's most precious treasure. And it's also half eagle, half lion, in that the eagle part of it sees the threats that are coming, and the lion part of it has the strength to be able to defend it. That's where we
deep.
And Gryphon is a really appropriate name for the company.
That's deep.
The defending part makes sense, but the seeing the threats ahead of time, I love how you said that. That's really cool. And you're right. That is a very appropriate name and an idea behind the company. That's great. Let's talk about the specific product. You have, I think, 3 different routers. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about what makes Gryphon routers Gryphon? What are you trying to accomplish, especially if people have never heard of it? What are you trying to accomplish with it, and what makes kind of the different routers different, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so at Gryphon, we're building a solution that helps empower parents and families to basically take back control over their internet safety. It is in the form of a mesh Wi-Fi router that makes it easy to control and protect all the different connected devices in the home. We do have 3 different models. The software is the same. So the network protection, the parental controls, that's all the same across all the different models. And the difference between the 3 models, we have the Gryphon Guardian, which is more the value product, and it's for homes that's a little bit smaller footprint, 1,500 square feet. You can go up to about 500 megabits. If you need a little bit faster, go up to a gig, and a bigger home, 3,000 square foot. You can go to the Gryphon Tower. And then finally, we have the Gryphon AX, which is a Wi-Fi 6. It also goes up gigabit throughput and 3,000 square feet or more of coverage. with Wi-Fi 6, you can support a lot more devices on the network. So as the network gets filled up with more and more devices, there's more efficiency in the Wi-Fi spectrum for Wi-Fi 6 to be able to handle multiple devices connected simultaneously. But otherwise, the software across all these devices are the same, and just a matter of for your needs. How fast is your service provider's internet, and how big is your home? How much coverage you need? Do you want to cover your backyard? So these are all mesh routers. So you can actually put more than one Gryphon in your home to create a large mesh network inside the home. And the difference between a mesh and a repeater, sometimes people look at, a mesh and a repeater may be the same thing. Actually, the repeater, what it's doing is actually just repeating the signal. The mesh is actually creating a bigger network. So there's intelligent handoffs between the two devices within the mesh network to give you the best coverage, the best throughput and performance. So it'll do load balancing among all the products, among all the connected devices to help keep the efficiency of the network the same.
Awesome.
I can tell you that, and it works as advertised. They had a flash sale a couple days ago on Amazon, I think it was, maybe last week. And I told my dad, I said, "Hey, go get on Amazon, get the second AX." He had one in his basement, and it arrived the next day. And I told him, power it up, plug it in, scan the QR code on the bottom, or go to the add mesh, and then scan the QR code. Powered up, did the thing, and you could see he went from 3 bars where the first AX was in the basement, and then as soon as he plugged it in and mesh happened, he went full bars, walked everywhere around his house, walked outside a little bit, walked out front, and his coverage was through the roof. He was actually telling me, "My Fire Stick isn't buffering anymore," and I was like, "Dad, I told you," like, So yeah, he was super excited. So yeah, now we FaceTime, he can walk anywhere in the house, and he's not like having his issues, but. Yeah, so it does work as advertised. One of the things
that we're really proud of is the fact that we can provide the network protection and parental controls without impacting your throughput or your coverage. Yeah. So we are looking at the filtering the packets, but we do it in a way that that doesn't actually impact the throughput.
That's huge, because I mean I know that's like the biggest thing for just any sort of filtering, parental control, anything for years. The biggest thing is like, I know I need this, but man, it really hampers my experience. Right. And for just non-harmful content. And so it's almost like just kind of like, man, I guess I have to do this. So to like hear like, man, this is actually working really well, and it's not going to hamper a good experience. That's super cool. What makes Gryphon routers just, and I'm going to say better than other products out there? Like what makes them so unique, other than they're apparently really great in terms of the mesh network and all that, but what makes them great on the parental control cybersecurity side?
Yeah, I think if we look across the different competitor products, and there are routers that will say they have parental controls and security, but I think it's mostly an add-on feature. For us, that's really the core of the product. We kind of, they put parental controls in after they build the router. We kind of that's where we start, and then we build the router around the parental controls and security and privacy. So I think that's one of the main differences. We look at it from that perspective rather than, hey, it's another feature add-on for the product. And so that's why we spend a lot of time making sure that even though it does a really good job of filtering and protection, it doesn't impact your throughput. We have we have features that other routers don't. Like, we have app controls. You can actually limit the amount of time that your kids are spending on different apps. We curated a list of apps, and we're going to be expanding that as well. We're one of the first to actually limit TikTok. When TikTok first came on the scene a few years ago, one of our parents told us about it and about this app, and we added it to our app control. You can actually tell your kids you can only spend half an hour on TikTok, and then after that, it gets shut off. So you can do that. Same thing for Instagram and other social media apps, and in games like Fortnite and other games.
Yeah.
And also at the network level, we're also blocking intrusions on the network. So we are actually inspecting the packets, making sure that behind the scenes. I know people have been talking about AI because of ChatGPT and large language models and things like that, but actually AI has been around for a while, and we're actually using AI to do threat detection. So we're looking at detecting anomalous behaviors on the network for some of these devices. So, for example, if your connected refrigerator decides to scan the network or upload a whole bunch of data from your network, we'll detect that anomalous behavior from that device and block it, or allow you to
Yeah,
block that device, notify you and allow you to block that device. So
that
in
was huge.
addition, yeah. So in addition to parental controls, we have all these network security features that a lot of these commercial routers don't have. Some of these features are really enterprise class type of security, but we're bringing it to homes and small businesses where you can deploy it in a way that's affordable and easy to deploy without having an IT manager having to set it up for you. So
Unless it's ArkCybr, then call us and we'll help you do it. And it's free.
Right.
We help you do it for free.
Yeah.
We don't
Right.
charge to help you do it for free. So,
Right.
but
But
yeah,
apparently, yes, at least to get it set up, Sean's 71-year-old dad could do it. So you're apparently
yeah.
doing something well with that piece. That's great.
I'll tell you something else, and John may not want to have gotten into the weeds of it, but one of the other things that I really love about this, besides the cyber tools that are built into it, is they allow a custom DNS settings, and so we have a white label DNS filtering solution that we sell. It's like $60 a year. We don't charge like a lot for that, but it gives us the ability to put our DNS filter on the Gryphon on top of what the Gryphon's already doing. And
Wow.
they don't just lock you into the ISP's DNS, which is a privacy problem in some places. If you're using the ISP as your DNS, they're spying on you. They could be spying on you. They could be taking those logs and collecting them and storing them. Not saying they are, but they have that significant possibility. And so allowing the router to have custom DNS settings is significant. So that's
yeah.
another great feature.
Yeah, we want to enable people to use as many tools as possible, right? So, having another layer of security on top of it is great, because security is all about layering. It's kind of like keeping warm. It's all about layering different layers of security. So you can have app level security, you can have network level security, you can have DNS level security, and adding these layers just makes the whole system a lot more secure and better at protecting you.
Man, this is super cool. So you talked about layers of protection, and security really is all about layering.
Mhm.
Something this isn't a parenting podcast, but a lot of parents will listen to it, and a lot of the audience is going to be parents of kids, and so we've even delved into a couple different subjects around this, but as a father, I'd love to hear from you, and being in this space, what do you think parents are neglecting to either do or understand when it comes to technology and their kids?
Yeah, I think for us, we see a lot of parents who are fearful of technology. They either they're either overwhelmed or just they don't want to touch it, right? So, and the default is, like Sean said, is to do nothing about it. So that's really, we encounter a lot of that, and that's part of what we're trying to solve with Gryphon, is to kind of level the playing field, sort of, with technology, to give something that's really simple to install and set up, so that you can take back that control over the technology that we're introducing into our homes. I mean, it's crazy. Just a few short years ago, where smartphones weren't that common, and now everybody has a smartphone, including my daughters and everybody's kids, and we also have all sorts of different connected devices, TVs, refrigerators that can go on the internet. We've got tablets, lots of different devices. Even the Xbox can go on the internet and browse, right? So it's we went from just a couple of connected devices in the home to now a few dozens of connected devices in our home, and I think it's projected to go to a few hundred connected devices in our home. So I think that's what parents are dealing with in terms of the overwhelming technology that's being introduced, and not a whole lot of solutions out there that gives you back that control of how do you control this technology? How do you make sure that you can see what's coming in, what's going out?
On our last episode, we talked about was it 2 episodes ago? I can't remember exactly, but we talked about when parents taught their kids how to ride a bike, they didn't just walk out and throw them the keys to a brand new Harley, right? They had a bike with training wheels. They had an age appropriate, size appropriate bike. Mm-hmm. And then when they took those training wheels off, mom or dad was holding the handlebar and holding the seat and running alongside the child as they learned to use that technology appropriately, safely. Maybe they did the helmet and the elbow pads and the knee pads and all that stuff. And as the child learned the appropriate use of that piece of technology, mom and dad were able to let go a little bit more and trust them to handle that bike the proper way. They didn't just throw them out into traffic and all that stuff. And I think the Gryphon is perfect for that. You let that, you can set, mom gets an age, mom gets a profile, dad gets a profile, child 1, 2, 3, whatever. Everybody that comes into the home, you have, and I don't want to steal this too, but the networks, right? The network segmentation that is built into there, it was another key piece of like, wow, they get network segmentation. You don't want your IoT devices, your smart washers, your smart thermostats, your those low hanging fruit that we in the hacker world are looking for. You don't want those same devices on your personal home network. And then also guests coming into your house. What are they bringing? What are they bringing with their stuff? And so you have the ability to create a guest network, which is essentially a VLAN. And you give your main network, your guest network, and your IoT network right out of the box. They don't nothing additional to do, either enable it or disable it. And you have that type of industry best practice built right into the device, which is fantastic as well. So absolutely love that.
I love that training wheel analogy that you just shared with us. I might steal that actually.
I'd be honored. Yeah, use it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Actually,
we definitely want to train our kids how to use the internet appropriately. It's definitely throwing them to the wolves if you don't.
Right. You can have the parental controls and all of that, but are there like specific, and this is, I don't think this was a question we gave you ahead of time, but are there different things you would recommend to parents to be training wheels for their kids? Like, how do you train a kid to use the internet well, responsibly? So, because at some point they're not going to be in your house, right? Like you said you're about ready to take your daughter to college again. Like, so what are some of those things that maybe you'd recommend?
Yeah, and this has kind of come from my personal experience. I have an older daughter and a younger daughter. I wish we had set limits earlier. We didn't have the Gryphon, for as much for my older daughter. So I think, it's just setting those internet limits, like bedtime, how much time they can spend on the internet, what type of apps they have access to start off with. Gryphon has very low setting for a toddler, which is basically a whitelist setting. You can allow certain sites, but pretty much blocks out the rest of the internet. And then you can kind of progress as it goes. So allow social media, allow email, and other sites as you go. But just start young and setting those limits, because the kids don't know what they don't know. So if you start off setting those limits, they just assume that these are the limits that I have to abide by. So I think it was a little bit better with our younger daughter, where we had those limits set. And so she's kind of used to being limited. Right. So, and as they mature, you can open up more and talk to them about the social media has has its place, has its use. My daughters use it to communicate with their friends. You can't really not have that today, but also just how to use it appropriately, so you're not addicted to it, or you're not overusing it. You know, getting down some rabbit trails.
Yeah, one of the questions that came to mind when I started investigating the Gryphon platform was, okay, all right, it's a router technology. You could go buy any one of the commercial off the shelf routers and do some basic configuration to it. And a lot of people don't do that. They don't buy a separate router. They use the one that comes with their internet service provider, and you can make some changes in there and do some hardening and things like that. But what really stuck out to me was the question in my mind was, well, what happens when I leave the home? What happens when I walk out of the house? What happens if I just turn my hotspot on my phone on? Now I'm not protected because I'm not under the cover of the Gryphon. You guys actually thought of it, and you have an answer.
That's right. Yeah. Thanks for teeing that up. Yes, we do have a solution for that. It's called Homebound, and it's a patented solution. It's a small app that you basically install on your mobile device, and what it does is it routes traffic back to Gryphon before going back out. So your mobile device, even if they turn off the Wi-Fi, or they're using the Starbucks or their school Wi-Fi or their friend's Wi-Fi, they're still protected within the Wi-Fi network, because the traffic has to come back before it goes out. So it makes it easy too, because whatever rules that you've set for the home goes with them. They're bound to those home rules, right? So that's what hence the name Homebound.
Love that. I love that. And I'm also like gathering. So my daughter's 4. She'll be 5 next month, and so I'm like trying to like right now she's we're very limited on what she's like has access to, and even like if she's like watching a show or whatever, like she's very like she tells us everything, and it's I feel like a good relationship right now. But even kind of what you were saying about how like starting her young, and then almost like because I feel like when you get a phone, when you get access to the internet, Sean always talks about you get unlimited access to all the filth that's out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to almost start it more at a point of you have like access to nothing except for maybe a handful of apps, and everything you have access to is hand selected, kind of a lot like other parts of life. It shouldn't just be a free for all. And that's kind of some of the stuff I'm taking away from this right now, is like, as I'm training her, it's like, oh, I need to like handpick each one of these things as we go. So that's super helpful. I love that.
Yeah. And just being involved. I think, as a parent, just being involved in their internet, in their digital lives, just as much as you are involved in their physical, lives.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yep.
So thinking about red flags, what are some red flags as a parent that you would recommend parents watching out for? So, just as they're observing their kids, or just whatever, what are some things that are coming to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really hard as parents to kind of spot those red flags. But I think it does just involve mostly just being involved, having that relationship with your kid, so that you have that communication channel with them. We just saw there was a 60-minute story about this 9-year-old Smith Alley, right? So he got into porn because his parents bought him a tablet, and then he clicked on some links and got into pornography, and he got addicted to it. His parents had no idea that he was. I mean, he's just so I think a lot of parents are just unaware, and it's just very difficult because their digital lives are somewhat hidden mostly. You don't see what they're doing on the internet. So I think it really about being more involved in their in their digital internet activities, and hopefully Gryphon can help. Having something that helps to kind of monitor. We do allow you to store browsing history, and so you can kind of monitor what they're doing on the internet, even if it's not something bad. For example, we noticed our daughter was looking up medical websites and things, so we were a little bit worried about what's going on. So we had a conversation with her, and it turned out that she was concerned about some condition that she might have. It wasn't anything bad, but it was just something where you could be more involved in their lives, and so you can have that relationship with them.
Especially as a former youth pastor, I would always tell parents, like, yeah, you need to be having as many conversations and trying to keep an open line of communication as possible, and not just I think in your case, it's like that was probably a slightly targeted like conversation with her versus so how was your day, like that. You almost need to be more specific, because how was your day, you're not going to get very far unless your kid is super talkative.
Well, I mean, our daughters know that we're looking at their browsing history.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah,
and that also
yeah,
helps. If your kids know that you're aware of what they're doing on the internet, that also helps them to self-filter as well.
Yep.
At some point you do need to, one of our partners, Chris McKenna, who runs the Protect Young Eyes organization, and he talks about building up different layers of filtering. So you have the technology layer that's where we kind of play the Gryphon, but then you also have the relationship layer, right? So that relationship that you have with your child, and then finally you have the internal filter. At some point you want to develop that internal filter, and that's what they're going to be relying on for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. I do love though that like you're really encouraging parents though to not just have the ability to spy on your kids or to, whatever it is. It really is a relational thing. And the best, if I'm hearing you right, yes, you do need to have the like inherently you have to just have the technological piece in place to protect your kids. That's why you have locks on the doors or whatever it is. But you also need to be talking. You also need to be building that relationship, and to be able to have open and honest conversations, even just with questions, whether or not it's visually harmful content, whether it's like the cyber security piece or whatever, just to be able to answer questions or be like, I don't know, we should look that up together and research this together, that kind of thing. So I love that you're encouraging kind of both the technological piece and the relational. Most of our listeners and the people we're trying to target are probably parents. But yeah, is there anything you encourage them to think about, do, whatever?
Yeah, I think communication is really important. Having that relationship with your kid, and in case something does happen, which will happen, not to freak out, but to understand. I mean, when we were growing up, we haven't had to deal with all sorts of stuff that kids are dealing with today. I mean, we didn't have social media. We didn't have all these different types of content coming at us. Kids are dealing with a lot of stuff these days, and I think we need to give them a little bit more sympathy in terms of what they're dealing with, and they're going to mess up just like we messed up, when we were kids, just. But not to give up on them. I think not to give up on our kids, and just we got to continue to build that relationship even if they are not receptive, and to just understand that they are dealing with a lot of different things in this digital world that they're living in. So, and we have some help. There are companies like Gryphon and others that are building technology to help parents make it easier for them to be able to help their kids.
Hey, one more thing. I I forgot to bring this up, but I was working with password managers trying to, find something and trying to use a really good one. And as my dad was adding his new AX, he looked down and he saw something that he was like, "Hey, I have a premium subscription. Do you know what this is?" And I looked into it. I'm like, "Oh, they have a new tool that they've added to the Gryphon." I want to give you one chance to mention it, talk about it. If you want. Yeah, I totally forgot. I almost forgot about this.
Yeah, we just added a new password manager. It's called Passport, and it basically acts like any other password managers that you might have used, like LastPass or FirstPass. But the main difference is the storage of the password is actually distributed through a blockchain technology. So it's not stored on any centralized servers. So there's no servers for hackers to hack into, and your passwords are individually encrypted with your blockchain wallet key, which is, as you know, it's almost virtually impossible to hack. A lot of people have lost Bitcoins because they couldn't figure out what their wallet key is, right? So you have your key. If you lose it, you're not going to get access to your passwords. But also, it makes it really difficult for hackers to hack into as well.
Yeah.
And it's individual. So if somebody ever gets your keys, they don't have, my keys. So everybody's passwords are protected individually. It makes it really safe for people.
Love that. And I helped him set it up. And so, yeah, love that the wallet is there, that it's distributed ledger technology. And even a couple shows ago, we did a show on storing your passwords. And what did I say? What's the kind of password manager that you want? It's one way, it's unrecoverable. It's, this is exactly. So this is hitting all the marks. So from a hacker, from a red team guy, this is like checking all the boxes. So
That's
all right,
great.
and then how do our listeners get their hands on one? We'll put our affiliate link in here too, but I can't beat the Amazon flash prices and things like that. So they're available on Amazon and they're available on your website directly. And where else? Somewhere else amazing.
We are also on Best Buy as well. So we're on Best Buy online, and eventually you might find them in Best Buy stores as well. So.
Ooh, that's exciting. That's great.
And that's a recent development, right?
Yes, yeah. We're right now we're working to train their blue shirts around the country to learn about Gryphon, so that they can talk about Gryphon and how it can help families.
Love it.
And also, if you want to be an investor in Gryphon, we do have an investment campaign going on WeFunder, and we can put the link on here as well.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. So yes, we'll put all those things in the show notes. If you're wanting to invest in Gryphon, if you're wanting to get a Gryphon, all those different things. And as always, if for our listeners, if you need help setting something up, we did say that it's super easy. However, if you need just somebody to hold your hand and walk through, Sean and the team would love to do that. So we'll have links for how you can do that as well. Well, John, thank you so much for your being willing to share with us, to be on this podcast. And I know I think this is going to be very helpful to parents, just hearing your story, hearing some of your encouragements for things they should be thinking about. And also we'll have links in the show notes for to get a Gryphon router. Again, Sean really recommends this product, and so I'm like, man, I need to get one because I just have like an Orbi router or whatever, and so be looking into that myself. But yeah, so thank you again, John. This has been so helpful, and we just appreciate you, and we're looking forward to seeing more from Gryphon and how you guys keep making really a lot of people, a lot of families, technology safer. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me on your podcast, and John and Josh. Thank you guys for just talking about this subject. I think more people need to hear about this. That it's a problem that we all kind of have to work together to solve.
Love
we're kind of doing our part in the technology layer, but just talking about it, talking about the solutions that are going to be out there, and that parents are not alone in this. We can all get together and really solve this problem.
Just do something. Doing nothing is no longer an option.